Thank you for downloading your free copy of the video sales page HTML template with Revelation Magic. In this tutorial, we're going to go over how to customize the files that you got in your download to set them up for your site and plug in your information. If you don't have the files already, just go to the website at the bottom of the page. That's www.gtggo.com/VSP-temp. So go there and grab your copies and you can follow along. So first we're going to go and take a look at all the files that will come in your download here. So when you unzip the download file, this is what you're going to see. You've got a couple of folders at the top, Images, EasyBox, and Revelation. Revelation is where the script is for the button reveal. We'll be making a change to that script. You don't need to mess with the EasyBox. Images is where you'll store any images you want to have on your web page. So if you add anything, that's the place to store it. And then down below we have 4 HTML pages and a style sheet. Style sheet, you can customize it to your heart's content if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, just leave it be. The other 4 files you will need to modify. The sales page file here, you're probably going to want to rename that, call it index.html, but you might want to leave it the same. That's up to you. But I generally rename that as index so it comes up automatically even if people don't type in the exact file name when they're looking for the page. The others, just leave them as they are, and we'll go in and make some changes to them. Now, you can use an HTML editor like Composer or Dreamweaver or other programs like that to make the changes to the files. I recommend not doing that just because I've found in my experience that most of those programs add extra junk that you don't want to the code when you try to use the kind of visual tools. It's not really complicated what you're going to have to do. Since this is a mostly video page, there really isn't a lot of content to mess with, and once you get comfortable with what needs being changed, then it's not really that big of a deal. I use a program called Notepad++, and there's a link on the download page to where you can download that. It's a free piece of software. It's great for editing all different kinds of code, including HTML. And I recommend using that. That's what I'll be using, and I'll show you how to find everything you need inside that program. It's very simple to use. So what I recommend is Notepad++. You can use Composer or Dreamweaver if you want, but just be warned, it might completely mess with stuff and completely alter what you're doing and add extra junk that you don't want. So be careful. All right, so first thing we'll do is start with the basics, which is how do you get your video in. That happens in the file that's inside this folder called Revelation. It's called revelationbutton.js. That's a JavaScript file. So I'm going to switch over to Notepad++ and we'll take a look at it. This is the JavaScript file for the Revelation button. You really don't have to mess with anything in here, so don't get confused by all the junk you see down here at the bottom. You don't need to dip into that code unless you want to. The main 2 things you need to change are right here, inside these 2 single quotes. This is the ID for your video from YouTube. So when you go to grab your video off of YouTube, go to your main video page, and then down at the bottom you'll have the link that says share. You click on that, and then underneath share there's an option for embed. Down here you'll see all the embed code and everything. Don't worry about any of that. What you want is right here. When you're looking at the link, the youtube.com embed link, right here is the ID code for the video. It's also at the top of the page. In your browser bar, you'll see in the link at the very end it'll say V equals, and it'll have this number right here. That's the number you need. Now, I recommend keeping the video size the same, which is 640 by 360. That's what's been optimized in the template, and that is a standard size for HD video scaled down a little bit. So I'd recommend sticking with that. Otherwise, you're going to have to make some changes to the actual template itself. But that's the code you need right there, is this piece of code. That's the ID for this specific video. So we'll go back to the Revelation the Revelation button script, and we'll make that update. Okay, so here you see that's the ID that I pulled out of the YouTube website. The next thing we need to do is pick when we want the delayed reveal magic button to appear. Now this we need to use no matter what, because this is going to set where the script pulls the video from, and so you need to set this. If you don't want to use the reveal timer, you can just leave this to anything you feel like and just ignore it. Right now I've got it set to 50 seconds. You'll enter the time in seconds. So if you want it to come in at 2 minutes, you'd set it to 120 seconds. So you enter that delay time in seconds, and it will reveal the hidden order button only at that moment. So make those two changes and then save this file, and you'll be ready to go. Now we'll switch over to, we'll go back to the privacy policy. We're going to do this, well actually let's go to the sales page. We'll stick with all this and finish this first. So the sales page, if we flip over to that, the sales page, the things you're going to want to change are the title of the page. So you want to change everything in between these two title tags right here. These are called title tags. So change this bit of text right here to whatever you want to appear at the top of the browser window when people are on the page. Then scroll down a little bit. Don't mess with anything up here. You scroll down until you get to where it says pre-head. You change the pre-headline. That's what shows up at the very top. Then there's the main headline and the sub-headline. If you don't want these to show up, just delete them. Just completely cut them out. The next bit here, don't mess with it, but if you did change your video size from the standard 640 by 360, you would update the video size here, the dimensions. I don't recommend it just because it will break the layout and you'll have to make some changes to the actual style sheets and everything. So unless you know what you're doing, leave this standard at 640 by 360. And then you scroll down a little bit, you'll see there's a comment here that says Start Hidden Button, End Hidden Button. The hidden button, you will, anything between this tag that says Div, Revelation Magic, right here, everything between there and here will be hidden and then revealed when the timer hits whatever mark you set. So if you put your button like I have it here, I have a button, you can see it. Don't worry about adding blank lines, they don't do anything to the file. It'll still display properly. But this right here is the code that I copied right off of my JVZoo account to create a button. You can just paste that right in here and you're good to go. So paste your order button there. If you want to do the whole page of your website, all the content below, to be hidden until after you hit the spot in the video where you want it to be revealed. If that's the case, what I would recommend is take this alignment tag out, because that's going to center all the content. Just delete that by backspacing. And then paste all of your content in the middle here. And whatever you put in the middle here will be hidden. Anything that's between these two tags right here will be hidden until the timer says go. And then if you want to add one of those pop-up lightbox links somewhere in your text, if you want to link to something, this is the code right here. There's another little piece of hidden code here. You'll want to copy this and paste it wherever you want your link. And the main thing to notice about this is you have to have a title. You put a title in for the window because it will show up in the frame of the window. It will actually print the title. Add your link here wherever you want it, whatever content you want it to link to. Leave this alone, and then you want to set the width right here, this number, and then the height right here. You set those two numbers to however large you want the window to open up when it shows up on the screen. So that's one change you need to make. And then in here is just regular text wherever whatever text you want to link. So you're just wrap it around whatever text you want to hyperlink to your pop-up box. So if you want to use that, you can play with that. You don't need to. You can just leave it hidden or delete it. The rest of the page is pretty self-explanatory. Whenever you want something to show up as a heading 1, put heading 1 tags on it. The rest of the content should be between paragraph tags. If you want a testimonial box, use this format right here. Just basically copy this and replace the content on the inside in between the paragraph tags and the H1 tags. Anytime you use an H1 tag inside this testimonial box division here, this div, anytime it's used in between here, it will show up with that handwriting font. If you use an H1 tag outside of this little content area, it will show up like a regular H1. So you don't have to do anything special to the H1 tags other than use them inside the content box div. So again, you can change this however you want to or leave it as it is. The rest of this is just standard HTML. I've got dummy content. You can leave it or delete it. This last little bit right here, this is the links to the privacy policies and everything. I would leave this text, I would leave everything here alone because it automatically is set up to open up the correct files. So just, unless you're going to remove the files and not have them on your page at all, I would just leave this entirely alone and then only update the privacy policies and things inside those separate HTML files. So make whatever changes you want. I'm just going to say, for the sake of this example, that we're going to delete everything, all of the extra content here. We'll just backspace and delete it. We'll delete the testimonial box. We'll delete all of this extra content. We'll only have, and I won't even use a headline. I'll delete all the headlines and pre-headlines and everything. We're just going to have, for this example, the video show up at the top and the magic reveal button show up underneath that, and then the privacy policy stuff at the bottom. So I'll finish all that and I'll hit save. The next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to show you the privacy policy. It's a really simple template. Don't mess with anything except for in between these two body tags, and all you do is use your H1, H2, and paragraph tags. I would leave everything else alone. Just, I would just come in here and say, here is my fancy super legal privacy policy text. So we'll just make that minor change there. In between the paragraph tags, if you want more paragraphs, just add more, same format. Just open it with this tag and close it with this tag. And you can add as much content as you want there. We'll save that. Do the same thing for the disclaimers, the same thing for the terms of use. Just update those files with whatever content you have. I recommend keeping that content extremely simple. Text, mostly text only. Very simple and straightforward, because it's going to appear inside that box and you don't want any distractions inside that box. Let them look over the terms and the legal jargon, but don't make it more interesting than your sales page. So now that we have all of that information saved, everything is uploaded. We've added the information for the new video to the Revelation script. We've updated the sales page. I'm going to rename the sales page to index.html. We've updated the privacy policy. We could do the same thing with terms and disclaimers, but I'll just leave it default. Don't mess with the style sheet unless you know what you're doing and you really have something specific you want. And then I'm going to use a program called FileZilla to upload everything to my server. And I've got a blank template in place here, but I'm going to grab all of the content from here and drag it down into FileZilla and upload it. It's going to ask me if I want to overwrite my index page, and I do, because the first one was blank. It was just a temporary page. It takes just a second to upload everything. Now that everything is uploaded, we'll switch over to the browser. And you can see here on the browser that I have a blank page. The previous landing page for this template was blank. And we'll hit reload to refresh it with the new content. And boom, there's our new sales page.
Video sales pages are extremely persuasive selling tools.
You may have seen that video before. We'll let it run. It goes 50 seconds. When it gets to the 50-second mark, you'll see the order button appear. But this is basically, I'll scroll it down a little bit here, but you can see we basically have just the video sticking at the top of the page and nothing else underneath it. Privacy policy and everything, so it'll pop up if you bring that in. So you can see here's where we change. Here's my fancy super legal privacy policy text. And then when we get to the 50-second mark in the video playback, the order button should pop underneath it. It takes just a little bit longer on this video here. And there it goes. There's our order button. It popped up at 50 seconds and everything's working. Now if you need to test this over, if you change things around and you need to test it, use your browser's cookie management tools to delete the cookie for your website, because you won't be able to hide the button and see the effect again unless you delete the cookie, because it sets a cookie in your browser to track who's been to the page before. So you would just go to the cookies, look for the one that's associated with your website, so your domain name, and then delete that cookie and it'll reset and you can test it again. That is all there is to updating the files. You can play around with it if you want to. If you want to customize it, play with the CSS a little bit, you can. There's very few graphics going on. Most everything is done with the style sheet, so it's extremely easy to tweak. And that ought to get you started. If you just pop in your fresh video, update the content, and add your order button in there, you can have a site up and running and ready to go, in just a matter of a few minutes. If you don't have your files yet, go to gtggo.com/VSPtemp and download them there. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, go to the download page and leave a comment at the bottom. Thank you.